Yeah, I had a spell at Bournemouth. Yeah, played most of my football between Hornchurch and Harlow.
But where did you play? You know, how do you reflect? Yeah, what position? How
Play
do you
central midfield.
On
Yeah, no. As a young player, I spent a lot of my development at Wimbledon. Wimbledon would have been a Premiership club at the time, and sort of my football education was there. I also played as a young player at Gideon Park Rangers. My dad managed our team, and we had lots of success. We had about 4 or 5 boys from that group that went on to play professional football. Had a really good team, so had lots of success as a youngster. Loved that time, and then left Wimbledon and moved into non-league football, and loved my career. My career ended at 28, 29. I had 18 months trying to rehab an injury and different operations and different sort of rehab protocol, and just wasn't able to get back to where I needed to be, and I never saw it coming at all. I never saw it coming. We finished the season at Hornchurch. I think we'd captained the team that had won the treble that year, and we'd had a real success. And I picked up an injury right at the back end of the season and foolishly tried to carry on playing with it, and thinking really once the close season come that it would just sort itself out. Sort of realised halfway through that maybe it wouldn't, and then found out that it was a bit more serious than I first thought. And as I said, then tried to rehab it and bang my head against a brick wall for a good 18 months, day in day out, training on my own, trying to get it better, because I love playing. Absolutely loved it, and it was a massive void in my life and a real disappointment to me when I had to pack in, especially at the age, because like I alluded to, I didn't really see it coming.
No. So how did you kind of recover from that though, and what made you want to go into management?
Well, it was just trying to fill the void initially. I could just feel this emptiness and this it's like you kind of, when you love doing something and you realise you can't do it anymore, it's like a kind of a mourning period and that you go through, and it's sounds like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill, but when you love something and it's taken away from you, it's certainly painful. And yeah, I had to do something quickly, because I think I would have drove my wife mad otherwise. So it was just finding out sort of the next best thing, and I suppose the next best thing to playing is coaching and managing. And had a background through my teaching career. Obviously, I'd done my badges when I was at university, and managed to convince the Concord Rangers chairman that I was the right person, along with a guy called Danny Scopes, who we did it as a joint management team initially. That I would be the right person to take the team forward, and
you enjoyed a lot of success at Concord Rangers.
Loved it, yeah. Concord Rangers. We started in step 5 of non-league football, so that would be step 9 of British football, of English football, and managed to pull in a few favours. I talked Nicky into dropping a couple of divisions to play for me. And I had a couple of friends who obviously I was still playing for, who I was pretty influential over. So I managed to get a good team first year, and I think we got to the Vars semi-final, did the treble that year, won the league on the last day of the season. So it was a close run thing. Nicky scored 27 goals for me actually that season from midfield. So he played a big part in getting us started. Yeah, certainly.
And then you went to Braintree. What was that like?
Yeah, well, there was 8 years at Concord, so we had eight years, and we managed to have 3 promotions in that time. A brilliant period, because it was a really small club. It was the second club on the island at the time. It was in a place, deep dark Essex, Canvey Island, and Canvey Island at that time were the main club on the island. They were a conference club, and we were obviously step 5 of non-league. So 4 divisions apart. They had some financial irregularities, and we kind of, over the 8 years, we ended up in the Conference South, and I think they ended up in the Ryman Premier Division. So we had some great rivalry with them. Yeah. They definitely played them 10 times, and they were always really big games on the island, and managed. I think we won 9 of those 10 games, which was amazing for the club. And I know that there's a lot of good memories for the Concord Rangers supporters from those games. But no, it was great to be involved in the club for such a long period with some really great people, and just see the club grow. Really, it was great. We were having success on the pitch. The chairman was very was very pro the club. Any money that we made would always go back into the club, and the club really grew, and we built stands and new changing rooms and had the pitch relaid, and it was great to see that club sort of develop from a really small club into a Conference South team. I think when we started out as managers, there was a stat that someone said to me that Stockport County, in the year that we took over at Concord, were in the Championship playing against Manchester City, and by the year we'd left, they were in the Conference North and we were in the Conference South, so we were in the same levels, and it was amazing just to see the different the changes between the two clubs. And really proud, probably really proud of what we achieved there. Obviously we got a lot of publicity for what happened at Concord, what happened at Braintree last year, but certainly.
Why did you go to Braintree? What was?
Well, we'd had 8 years at Concord, and there was different times that we could have moved on, and we could have moved on for better clubs, and certainly for better money, because we pretty much doing the Concord Rangers thing as volunteers. But it just felt that at 8 years that maybe it had gone as far as it could go. I think the club at that time wasn't ready to move into the conference, and we'd got really close in the playoffs, just missed out on the Conference South playoffs, and it just felt that maybe this was the right time to move. And there's only so many jobs you can turn down, and I think sometimes if you keep turning jobs down, then maybe people think that you lack ambition, and it was never that. It was just that there was always still further in the Concord Rangers journey. It always felt that we could take it further, and while we felt that we could still move things on, we still wanted to be there, and we've made some really good relationships with people at the club, and it felt like we were a family, and we were really proud of where we're taking it. So it was a real wrench to leave. But no, the Braintree option come available, and it was a tough one, because obviously they'd done so well. They'd spent 4 years as a very small club in that division, and sometimes when as a manager you move into a club that has already overachieved, the concern is, or the worry is, how you're going to improve things further. And Alan Devonshire and Keith Rowlands, who were the managers at the time, had done a fantastic job at Braintree. So that was the biggest challenge going there.
And then, what was it? I know you got a lot of publicity for it last year, but what was it like actually working at a school as a PE teacher with Nicky? And then, on the weekend you were managing Braintree and going into the playoffs of the National League.
Yeah, it was busy. It was definitely busy. Yeah, it was tough. You felt obviously we'd always been PE teachers and managed all the way through, but once we went to the National League, because it's a full-time league, we were always trying to, there are a lot of teams that are, 20 to 24 teams are full-time, so you're always trying to equal out the difference of being a part-time club and make sure that it doesn't affect you too much. So we were part-time, but we were almost doing full-time hours. So that was a challenge, because you were kind of juggling two jobs. But no, we really enjoyed it. We had a great run at Braintree, and we had a very small group of very loyal supporters, and they, I think we enjoyed the journey together, and had a lot of good moments.
And what was it like going into school? When you made the playoffs. I mean, was there a buzz with the kids?
Well, a lot of the kids were coming to games, and we had a real group of boys at Fitzwilmot School that would come to Concord Rangers, because the Fitzwilmot School, which is the school that Nicky and I taught at, was very close to Concord Rangers. Braintree was a bit further, still in Essex, but a little bit further. But we still had some of the pupils that come down to the Braintree games. It was surreal. I remember playing on the Thursday night at Grimsby in the first playoff game, and we won 1-0. Got home about sort of 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning, and we were back in school for 7 o'clock. So it was challenging in that respect, but there was certainly a buzz and a lot. I think Braintree certainly inherited quite a lot of, certainly got quite a lot of Fitzwilmot School pupils as supporters off the back of last season.
And you've enjoyed this journey with Nicky. And so what's it like kind of working with your brother, and how did that kind of start? Because you just touched on, you signed him for his club.
Yeah, well, we played together. We'd had a couple of periods in our career when we played together. We played together at Harlow and at Hornchurch, so I had some time together there, and just sort of short periods. We had a good season. My last season playing really at Hornchurch together. Both played centre midfield. But we've always been very close, so we've always done things together. We've worked together. Nicky was at Fitzroy. I was there for 15 years, he was there for 10, 11 years, so we're used to living in one another's pockets. Nicky obviously played at Concord Rangers. He would have played the first 7 seasons, so he was a key part. He was a key player for us. He was a captain, and then he went on to play a coach towards the end of his career, and his football come to an end, and it was quite natural that he would then take the role of assistant manager. He, to be honest, was probably doing that role before we were awarded him that title. So no, we're used to working closely together, and we get on. We don't talk about much other than football really. So yeah, no, we get on well, and I think when you're looking at football management and relationships, your management assistant manager role, you need a real amount of loyalty and honesty and trust, and obviously we have those things in abundance, and although we're quite similar in some ways, we've also got different qualities that hopefully we can bring.
That was my next question. What does he bring, kind of in terms of tactics or what kind of coaching?
Yeah, I think the strength of our relationship is that really the club gets 2 managers because we're 24/7 on it, whereas sometimes an assistant manager takes a backward role and a supporting role. Nicky's very much on the front foot, and he's he works unbelievably hard. We're both pretty obsessed with football and probably winning, he's a good coach. He's analytical. He studies the game very, very hard. He's always looking to try to find ways of either improving our coaching methods or improving the team tactically. And he's got good people skills and man management skills. So he's got, we're both quite lucky. Where we come from small clubs, I think you kind of get used to, because you haven't got that much support network around you. You kind of get used to doing everything. At Concord Rangers initially, we were doing the kit. We were doing a whole variety of roles at the club, and because you've lived it all and you've done them all, you kind of then know what you want. So when you then do have the support network and you can delegate, you kind of can delegate from a position of authority, I suppose.
And then after Braintree, you probably had quite a few clubs to choose from, I imagine, because you did such a good job at Braintree.
Yeah.
So why Lincoln? What made
Why
you...
Lincoln? I just think it caught our imagination. I think it's a massive club. It's got such huge potential. You look at the history of the club, and I remember the opportunity to come around, and whenever an opportunity comes around, I think you've always got to do your background work and your background reading, and so certainly Bob Dorian and Clive Nate sold the club to us, and did a fantastic job in selling the club to us. And it was just looking at the history of it and where it's been, and the pain it felt when it got relegated, and the lack of success that maybe it had in that interim period between being relegated 5 years ago, and just felt that we wanted to try to get, we wanted a project and something that we thought that we could really build. And I think our frustration at Braintree is we only felt we could build a team. Whereas Concord, we felt like we could build the club and develop the club, and this was the aim here. It felt like we were going to get the opportunity to help the club move forward, and that's what we've tried to do. It's a long-term strategy in a short-term industry, so it's always we understand that is a problem in football, because obviously it's such a short-term industry, and our strategy is a long-term one, and that's why we're so pleased when we win, because we know when we win and we accumulate points, it gives us time to really implement what we're trying to create. And it's I know there's been talk over the last few days and speculation with regards to the Grimsby role, but we're 100% people, and we're 100% committed to this, and fully focused on trying to move this great club forward and try to bring the good times back. You know, it's such a lovely place, Lincoln, and we've met so many lovely people and people that inspire us to work hard, and that's that. You know, that we want to bring some smiles back to people's faces, because this club deserves a little bit of success.
And how have you found it managing Lincoln? You know, it's one thing to say, you know, you did your research and everyone sold it to you, but actually being here, what's it been like since?
Oh, I think it's surpassed all of our expectations. You know, the support has been brilliant from day dot. You know, it's felt a real buzz around the place, and in Essex, my next door neighbour doesn't know who I am. So to move to Lincoln and be recognised and spoken to, and people, you know, hold you in high esteem has been great for Nicky and I. And you know, with the support has been unbelievable, and it's the best support in the division. I know managers say that, but there's no doubt about it that we've got the best support in this division. And I just want to try to, or we just want to try to produce a team that matches the level of our supporters, and if we can, we'll have the best team in the league.
And for you and Nicky personally, long term, you know, I'm talking very long term, what are your ambitions as a manager? Do you have goals that you really, you know, are aiming for, you know, by the end of your managerial career?
I think so. You know, I think, you know, none of us expected to get into full-time football. It's taken me 38 years to get here, and normally when you're in non-league football and part-time football, it's very hard to make that divide, because there's so many ex-players that have played at the highest level that want to get into football management. So it's quite a hard thing to get into as a part-time non-league manager. Going forward, you know, of course we're ambitious. We want to manage at the highest level we can, but we're ambitious in the journey as well, and the process. And for us, once we start something, we want to finish it. And this is definitely a project that we're enjoying being part of. It's very early days in that project, and we do see it as a long-term one. And we do need time to be able to build exactly what we want to build and get to where we want to get to. You know, we've got a clear vision of where we want to take this club and how we want to get there. And we understand that you need results short term to be able to give you that time, but we're pretty confident that we can do that, and if we're given the time, we know that we can make this club great again. And
you know, just rewinding a tiny bit, why management as well? Why did you kind of choose to go into management?
Well, we've always coached, so I've always enjoyed coaching from a young age. My dad coached mine and Nicky's team, so I suppose that, you know, we followed him in that a little bit. And then obviously taught, and a lot of the skills are transferable, and just enjoyed management. We sort of fell into it after playing, and then enjoyed it, and had some short-term success, and then you kind of get the bug for it, and it, you know, unfortunately all of our bodies give up sooner or later, and you then have to look at the next thing available to you. And when you love football like we do, and you love winning, there's nothing that replaces that buzz. Winning is a drug to me, and it was then to try to find a management style and strategy that worked within my personality, and trying to find a way of winning game in, game out, because I know my world's a lot better place when we're on the right side of results.
And then, you know, moving away from National League football, I just want to ask you a few other questions, such as, we were talking about it just before, but what do you think are the biggest kind of problems in English football? You know, we touched on the national team a bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, the Premier League as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest problems at the moment in football, God, that's an open-ended question. We've got the problems with the national team, and probably being over-expectant with them, but also obviously the problems we have with corruption in the game, and that's at world level, isn't it? But also been brought into English football recently, and that's the problem. There's so much money in the game. Is it too much money in the game? And it's, you know, there's people that play at the highest level. It's not their fault if, you know, you're worth what anyone's willing to pay for you. It's certainly my fault on it, but it's ridiculous amount of money that people are being paid when you consider that education in this country, the NHS in this country are starved of finance, and then you consider how much money is in football. It's a problem, and the problem is because there's so much money in it that the people involved in it don't respect money and then get caught up like people like Sam Allardyce have, and it's definitely a fear that the top level of football is getting so far detached from reality. That would be my biggest concern, and I think that's why for me this level of football is so great, because we're genuine ordinary people, and I think people that come to the game can have I suppose the supporters are able to interact with people at this level of the game, and we're all just regular normal people trying to do a job to the best of our ability. So that's what that's definitely what's great about the game at this level. But
And another kind of topic I want to discuss with you is Greg Clark said last week, you might have seen, that the Premier League is an impossible environment for a gay player to come out in. Do you think that applies to the National League as well, or do you just think it's the scrutiny and the Premier League being the best division?
No, not really. Not really. It's happened in some sports recently, hasn't it? And I'm sure it will. I'm sure eventually, once one person comes out in football, then many more will follow. And it just needs someone to be brave enough to, doesn't it? Obviously, it is a game. You look at football, particularly at the highest level, and there's scrutiny on it. And you also look at supporters, and particularly away supporters and opposing supporters. You can understand why people are not willing to take that jump, but Gareth Evans did in rugby union, didn't he? And he was as big a strong and brave a man as there is, and you hoped that sort of created the pathway for others to be able to follow suit, because you want people to be people. Wouldn't it be boring if everybody's the same? And you don't want robots, and they become goldfish, don't they, if everybody's the same? So you want people to have personalities and different preferences. And
do you think that was the right thing for him to say, though, as a message to almost all footballers anyway? But to say that it's
I don't know. I don't think anything is impossible in this life. I just think you have to be yourself, don't you? And I would want anybody to be anybody, professional footballer or not, to be true to themselves and be who they are. And like I said, unfortunately, the way football is and the way some opposing supporters can be, it probably prevents people wanting to put themselves in that circumstance or that situation. But I hope someone will be brave enough sooner or later, because I think the world and probably football will be a better place if they do.
And finally, just coming back to Lincoln City, what are your dreams and goals, say, for this season and then longer term?
Well, obviously the long-term ambition is to take the club back into the Football League. Obviously having been involved in non-league football as a player and a manager all my career, to win this division or get promoted out of the top tier of non-league football would be fantastic for Nicky and I, but more importantly the club, because the club is a great club, and to get its Football League status would be brilliant. It would be brilliant on so many different levels, for our academy, for the supporters, for everybody associated with Lincoln and Lincolnshire. So that is the long-term ambition. In short term, it's building blocks, and it's about trying to make progress, and that's on a daily basis, trying to continually make progress so that we can build an infrastructure that allows us to have sustained success.
And have you been happy with the progress so far? How do you measure the progress you've made so far? Yeah,
I think it's been steady. I think we've put ourselves in a good position in the league. Managed to get to the first round of the FA Cup. We've had a few bumps on the way, but you'll always have bumps in the journey, on any journey, and particularly a football journey. So no, we've been pleased with the progress. I'm not the most patient man in the world, so I want everything yesterday. But no, we're pleased with the start that we've made, and looking forward to where it's going to take us.
Thank you very much, Danny.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much.